Over the past few decades, deer hunting has become a big industry, especially when it comes to bagging large deer. Many hunters try to make hunting big bucks a precise science, but really it's more like an art that includes a bit of luck and unpredictability. This doesn't mean you shouldn't make plans or strategies, but just know there are no sure things in deer hunting. However, these 20 tips have proven to be reliable. Let me know if you agree. 1. Hunting more than scouting. When you have a week to hunt on new land, it's wise to dedicate the first 2 to 3 days just for scouting. If no promising spots are found during this initial period, continue to search for another day to locate any clear signs of deer activity. By the 4th day, if the perfect spot still hasn't been identified, settle for the best location discovered thus far. Then from the morning of the 5th day, start hunting there, both in the morning and evening, for the remainder of the trip. This approach ensures a well-planned hunting session, balancing thorough exploration with dedicated hunting time to maximize chances of success. 2. Considering historical patterns. Not all deer follow the same paths or habits from one season to the next, but many do. Over the years, it has been observed that mature bucks often repeat similar behaviors each year. This pattern can give you a clue about where you might find deer in the future. 3. Adjusting to new patterns. Just like they have yearly habits, deer also show patterns within a season. These patterns might last a few days or a few weeks. Keeping track of these patterns through sightings or with the help of trail cameras that send updates directly to your phone can be very helpful. However, it's important to stay flexible. If new information comes in that shows a different pattern, it's usually best to follow the latest updates rather than sticking to the old ones. This approach helps hunters adapt and make the best decisions based on the most current and relevant information about deer movements. 4. Depending too much on trail cameras. Trail cameras are great tools that take pictures of deer, and they've really changed how we hunt whitetails and other game. However, it's possible to rely on them too much. Deciding not to hunt because a camera hasn't captured a deer or only shows them at night might be a mistake. Often, bucks are still around. They just aren't being caught by the camera. Even if your cameras aren't showing much, it's worth it to go out and sit in your hunting spot a few times. You might find that deer are nearby, just using slightly different paths or showing different behaviors than what the camera's captured. 5. Hunting the best spots. Too soon or late. Hunting is about precision, being in the right place at the right time, but it's also about choosing the right days, weeks, and months. Different properties peak at certain times during the season. Some are best early or late in the season, while others hit their prime during the rut. It's important to scout and spend time at these locations to understand their peak times. Once you've figured this out, remember to target these areas at their historical peak each season. 6. Hunting without focusing on high-odds days. Deer movements can be unpredictable, and they're typically most active at dawn and dusk. However, certain conditions, like cold fronts, warming periods after cold spells, light rains, and high barometric pressure can increase deer activity during daylight hours. To keep hunting pressure low, plan your hunts around these conditions. 7. Putting excessive stock in funnels and other easy routes. Deer usually take the easiest paths available. This applies to does, fawns, and young bucks. However, mature bucks often prefer using secondary, less obvious trails. Keep this in mind when you're scouting for locations. 8. Driving four-wheelers to tree stand locations. Except for hunters with disabilities, it's generally best to avoid driving four-wheelers near tree stand locations when targeting older deer. Mature bucks learn to associate the sound of motors with human presence and may avoid these areas. That said, deer hunting isn't always straightforward. Sometimes, if a four-wheeler's presence fits into the normal activities of the area, it may have less of an impact on the deer. 9. Not analyzing surrounding hunting pressure. Hunters who are familiar with the areas they hunt, whether private or public, also keep an eye on the activities around them. They observe hunting activities in neighboring lands, noting things like the amount of hunting pressure and the game being harvested. These factors can significantly influence deer behavior in the general area. Building good relationships with neighboring hunters is crucial for staying informed about what's happening nearby. This is important because no one wants to spend the season tracking a deer that was already taken months ago. 10. Hunting the same spot. Too often. While there are exceptions, frequently returning to the same hunting spot is generally not recommended. However, if conditions are right, sitting in the same spot for a few consecutive days can be effective. Constantly changing locations every hunt can reduce your chances, but dedicating several days to your best stand might increase your likelihood of success, as it may take multiple attempts before a deer appears. 11. Hunting all day. If you're aiming for a trophy, consider hunting from dawn till dusk. Deer are active during midday, particularly in the rut season. Going in and out for lunch or breaks leaves more human scent in the area, doubling the risk of spooking deer. Staying in your spot all day can reduce scent disturbance and improve your chances of a successful hunt. 12. Hunting over scrapes selectively. Hunting directly over scrapes can be hit or miss. Research shows that most scraping activity occurs at night, particularly on the edges of fields, and activity often decreases once the rut begins in earnest. However, if a scrape is located in an otherwise strategic spot, it might be worth considering. Otherwise, it's better not to hunt over scrapes without a good reason. 13. Using well-concealed ground blinds. While you might manage to hunt from a ground blind that isn't well concealed, camouflaging it with natural foliage that blends into the environment significantly increases your chances of not being detected by mature deer. 14. Hunting with optimal wind conditions. It's vital to hunt responsibly and consider the wind direction, which can greatly affect your success. Mature deer are clever and often use the wind to their advantage. Therefore, hunting with a just-off wind, where your scent drifts slightly away from the deer rather than directly at them, can be a highly effective strategy. 15. Hunting near major food sources. In areas that are not managed and have typical hunting pressure, or in regions where there is limited cover for bedding, mature deer are rarely seen in major food sources during daylight hours. Instead, it's more effective to concentrate on secondary food sources and staging areas that lie between prime bedding spots and main feeding areas. These locations are where you're more likely to observe deer moving during the day. 16. Over-reliance on bait. In some places, baiting is legal. This isn't about whether or not to use bait, but rather how it's used. In areas where baiting is permitted, hunters often depend too heavily on it. Bait should be considered just one strategy among many, not the only approach. 17. Misusing deer calls. Using calls can be an effective strategy, but using them incorrectly can also have negative effects. To call deer effectively, it's essential to have a thorough understanding of deer behavior, body language, and situational tactics. Knowing when and how to use calls can make a big difference. 18. Ignoring gut feelings. Intuition often stems from experience and can guide decisions in hunting. Unless there's strong evidence to the contrary, it's usually wise to trust these gut instincts. They often draw on a deep understanding of hunting scenarios and can lead to successful outcomes. 19. Waiting for the perfect shot opportunity. In deer hunting, it's rare for whitetails to offer the perfect shot opportunity. Therefore, it's advisable to take the first good shot that presents itself. This isn't to suggest taking poor or irresponsible shots. Hunters should always aim for smart, ethical decisions when pulling the trigger. However, holding out for a perfect shot instead of taking a good one when it comes could mean missing your chance. 20. Balancing aggression in hunting. Many deer have managed to elude hunters who were either too aggressive or not aggressive enough. Finding the right balance between these extremes is challenging but crucial. The concept of being patiently aggressive means waiting for the right moment to act, but being ready to seize the opportunity when it arrives. This approach helps avoid missed chances by being too cautious or scaring deer away by being too bold.